You ever feel like your entire career is one long practical joke, and any minute now, somebody's going to come in and tap you on the shoulder like, hey, sorry to interrupt. We've reviewed your credentials and it turns out you're not supposed to be here. Yeah, that's imposter syndrome. And by the end of this video, you'll discover why your brain is lying to you harder than a used car salesman and how to turn off that self-doubt and turn it into rocket fuel for your robotics career. Today, we're talking about something that's probably eating you alive right now, okay? That little voice in your head that's telling you that you don't belong in the robotics lab. You know the one that's whispering that your MIT classmates are the real engineers and you're just really good at pretending that you understand PID control. Yeah, that's the demon. That's the demon that makes you think that the latest robot project worked because of pure dumb luck and possibly divine intervention. Ladies and gentlemen, meet your worst enemy, imposter syndrome. And I'm here to tell you something that might shock you. Shock you more than touching a live servo wire. You ready for this earth-shattering revelation? Everyone in robotics feels like a fraud sometimes. Yeah, you heard it. You heard it right here. That professor who invented that amazing robotics gripper that everyone worships, he feels it too. He goes home wondering if he's smart enough or if he just got really lucky with his coffee to failure ratio that day. You know, that senior engineer at Boston Dynamics who makes robots dance and do backflips better than your uncle at your weddings? He still questions if he deserves to be here or if HR made a clerical error during hiring. Your favorite robotics YouTuber who explains inverse kinematics like he's breathing. He probably still counts the degrees of freedoms on his hand. So here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to admit. Robotics is ridiculously hard. It's ridiculously complex. Feeling stupid is basically written into your job description, folks. You're literally trying to create artificial life. And you're surprised you feel overwhelmed? That's like being surprised that brain surgery is harder than making a sandwich. But here's what they don't teach you in schools. Nobody was born knowing ROS 2. You didn't pop out of the womb writing a publisher and a subscriber for LiDAR data. You learned it, you wrestled with it. You probably had a moment where you were starting to question your life choices. You were staring at terminals. You were whispering, what is a node? You think you're behind? There's a guy out there right now with 2 degrees and a Tesla internship, still manually tuning his PID controller like it's some spiritual journey. Your imposter syndrome is like having a really pessimistic roommate in your head who keeps telling you that you're about to get evicted from the field of robotics. But here's what you need to understand about robotics specifically. This field is so ridiculously interdisciplinary that being confused is actually a sign of intelligence. If you understand everything that's happening in robotics, you're not paying attention. You've got mechanical engineers over here who can build actuators so precise they could thread a needle, but then ask them about machine learning and AI and they look like a deer in headlights. You've got computer scientists who write beautiful AI algorithms, so beautiful they should be put up in museums, but hand them a screwdriver and they might accidentally build a lamp. You've got electrical engineers who design circuits more complex than the human nervous system. But show them a kinematic diagram or a kinematic equation and they start questioning their life choices. And guess what? That's not a bug, that's a feature. Robotics is literally what happens when 15 different fields get together and decide to have the world's most complicated group project. Nobody expects you to be a walking encyclopedia of everything robot related. It's not going to happen, folks. That would be like expecting a chef to also be a farmer, a cow, and a restaurant critic all at the same time. Technically possible, but highly impractical and probably illegal in several states. You know what separates successful roboticists from the ones who quit and become accountants? It's not intelligence. Because let's be honest, we're all pretty smart cookies around here. It's not having fewer moments of self-doubt. We all have that. Self-doubt that's our unofficial middle name. It's learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, like wearing socks with sandals, but for your brain. Here's your first defense against imposter syndrome. And this one's a game changer. Embrace being a professional beginner. You know what's actually impressive in robotics? Admitting when you don't know something and asking questions like your career depends on it. Because guess what? It does. It does. You think asking questions makes you look stupid? My friend, staying silent and pretending you understand makes you look about as intelligent as a robot trying to eat soup with a fork. Smart people ask questions so fast, it sounds like an auctioneer having an existential crisis. Dumb people nod along and hope nobody notices they're essentially human bobbleheads. Which one are you going to be? Second defense, and this one's important. Document your wins like you're building a case for your own awesomeness. Every time you solve a problem, write it down. Every time someone compliments your work, screenshot it like it's evidence in a court case. Every time your code actually works on the first try, celebrate like you just witnessed a unicorn riding a bicycle. Because when imposter syndrome hits harder than a poorly programmed robot arm, you'll have concrete evidence that you're not a fraud. Your brain might lie to you like a politician during election season, but your GitHub commit history doesn't lie. Numbers don't lie, people. Code repositories are brutally honest. Third defense, reframe your mistakes as expensive education. Failed experiments are not evidence that you're incompetent. They're evidence that you're pushing boundaries like a rebellious teenager, but with better documentation. You think the engineers at Tesla got their humanoid robot right on the first try? Please, people, please. They probably have a robot graveyard right out there, right in their office that looks like a Terminator movie gone wrong. Every failure taught them something valuable, like don't make the robot arms longer than its ability to understand its own personal space. Your failures are not your character flaws. They're research contributions to the global database of things that don't work, but look cool while failing. Fourth defense, find your tribe of fellow imposters. Surround yourself with other roboticists who understand that half of engineering is just creative problem solving, and the other half is creative cursing when the first half doesn't work. Join robotics communities where people share their failures as proudly as their successes. That's the key. Attend conferences where everyone pretends to understand each other's presentations, but secretly takes notes like, I'm going to chat GPT this later. When you realize that everyone else is also making it up as they go along, your imposter syndrome loses its power. It does. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in robotics came from people who felt like complete idiots, complete imposters. They weren't trying to impress or win awards. They were just trying to solve problems they cared about, probably while consuming an unhealthy amounts of caffeine and questioning their sanity. And that authenticity, that genuine curiosity mixed with the mild panic, that's what leads to real innovation. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to be the most willing to learn, experiment, and occasionally make robots do things they were definitely not designed to do. Let me share the ultimate truth about imposter syndrome. This is going to sound a bit counterintuitive. Feeling like an imposter actually means you're growing. That's right. If you always feel confident and competent in everything that you're doing, you're probably not challenging yourself. You're probably not growing. You're the human equivalent of a robot stuck in safe mode. The discomfort that you feel when you're tackling a new robotics concept, that's not weakness. That's not weakness at all. That's your brain literally forming new neural pathways. That's the actual feeling of getting smarter. So instead of running from that feeling, you have to lean into it. Make friends with the discomfort. Become one with it. So here's your homework. Here's your homework. Tomorrow, I want you to do something that scares you, that frightens you. Apply for that internship that you think you're not qualified for because they probably want someone who doesn't ChatGPT basic concepts. Start that project that you've been putting off for many, many years. Ask that expert the question that you've been just afraid to ask because you might think that it makes you look stupid. Share your work online, even if it's messy. Because here's the secret. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Your messy, imperfect, that I have no idea what I'm doing but do it anyway approach is exactly what robotics needs right now. The field is advancing so fast that by the time that you finish reading the textbook, the technology has already evolved 3 generations down the road. We need fresh perspectives, crazy ideas, and people willing to fail and try things that might fail spectacularly, but look amazing while doing it. We need you to stop hiding behind your imposter syndrome. So here's my challenge to you. Go build something so amazing. Learn something that makes your brain hurt in a good way, or help someone else on their robotics journey. Okay? Because the best way to silence that inner critic is to create so much evidence against it that even your own pessimistic brain has to admit defeat. The robots are coming, folks. Whether you like it or not, they are on their way. And we need you to help build them right instead of letting someone else mess it up. Now stop doubting yourself and go change the world. And most importantly, keep building.
Automatic Addison.